Hello and welcome back to the Winning Agenda's coverage of the Sorcery Contested Realm League Season 1. My name's Jesse Muehlman-Marshall and it's great to be here with the top 8. So this is the first game in the top 8. It's the quarterfinals and I'm playing against Nathaniel Dalton, who is from Mean Mugging Games. Shout out to Mike at Mean Mugging Games and Nathaniel. They have been doing some great sorcery content as well. But here we've got an interesting opening hand. We've got Dark Tower, Gothic Tower, Ruins, so 2 towers, which is nice. We'll keep those because they give us that early acceleration, both different types of towers. We'll probably chuck back the Ruins, and we have kept a Grapple Shot and a Phase Assassin on the spell side. So we were looking for a 2-drop there, and we got a 2-drop, which is great. Nathaniel is going ahead and mulliganing 3 sites and 1 spell. So from our side of the board here, we're on the play as the higher seed in the top 8, which is great. So we've got a Dark Tower, which is going to be 2 mana on turn 1, and then we'll be able to drop that Spectral Stalker. Obviously with Nathaniel playing what we think is going to be a pretty similar build, we're expecting a 2-drop, either Spectral Stalker or Men of Leng coming back the other way off a tower, but we'll still probably place our Spectral Stalker aggressively since we're on the play. So it's a really interesting matchup here, the Battlemage v Battlemage, particularly when we've got this Voidwalk build, where we're looking to get up in the face of the other avatar, because the Battlemage actually responds pretty well to that kind of aggression, particularly if our opponent is playing Free City as well, which we have in our build. That defends it really well against your opponent getting up in your grill early. But Battlemage itself, having the ability to draw a card and kill anything up to 3 power on its own, is pretty sweet, as well as if Nathaniel's playing a similar build, then they'll be able to get moving with their avatar relatively early compared to other avatars that want to be playing sites for a few more turns. So we've gone ahead and played our Gothic Tower, actually kept the Dark Tower. So Gothic Tower into Spectral Stalker on turn 1. So Nathaniel having a think. So Nathaniel draws a spell, taps the Battlemage, and drops down a Lone Tower. So 2 mana for Nathaniel on turn 1, which they can use for a Philosopher's Stone. So that's a really good start for them. Having the Philosopher's Stone on turn 1 gives you the acceleration and a little bit of fixing if you are splashing for some of those fire spells or things like that. And then a Spectral Stalker. So we've got very much a mirror match happening here. Tower into Spectral Stalker on both sides. We draw a Browse, which is a nice get, partly because if we do, we've got this Mirror Realm in hand, and if we are able to copy a Lone Tower next turn, which is the 3rd type of tower, then we'll be able to cast both Browse and Grapple Shot. And that gives us an interesting sort of sequence of plays here. If Nathaniel decides to be more defensive and play sideways on the back line, then we can connect up with the Mirror Realm, copy Nathaniel's Lone Tower, which is the 3rd type of tower. Will put us to 4 mana for the turn, and then we can browse, find the best card in the top 7, and then Grapple Shot across the board. So either way next turn, what we're thinking here is that we're probably going to be heading all the way across the board with that Grapple Shot. So this is looking like it's turning out pretty well being on the play. We had, 2-drop on turn 1, 3-drop on turn 2, and then we're potentially looking at a 1-drop and a 3-drop on turn 3. So emptying our hand by turn 3 and getting some relevant permanents down onto the board, as well as getting our Battlemage across the board. Nathaniel, though, drops a Free City, the aforementioned Free City, which does block things up reasonably well in terms of us marching our way across the board. So for instance, now if we had a blink, we wouldn't be able to blink over to that Dark Tower and then attack the Free City, because the Free City would be able to defend the first strike against it, which would mean the damage wouldn't go through to the avatar. And that's because damage to avatars only goes through when an undefended side is attacked. And because Free City allows our opponent to defend the first attack each turn, or 1 attack each turn, they can defend the Battlemage's strike, which means the attack will no longer be undefended, so the damage won't go through to their avatar. So they come in for 2 with the Spectral Stalker, which we've also done on their side on our turn. So Free City there once per turn may attack or defend here once. Haast Eagle on their side. So that puts a little bit of a spanner in our works, actually, because now not only do we not get to connect up to their Lone Tower using our Mirror Realm, because we can't actually place the Mirror Realm nearby now, we also don't get to grapple shot across the board because they've blocked our grapple. And if we grapple the Hearth Eagle, then we end up on a free city, which is a bit annoying. Now, from memory, so I've gone ahead and played the Mirror Realm here, copied my own Dark Tower, and then just gone up to 3 mana, and now I'm deciding what to do. So I actually attack with the Spectral Stalker here to bait out the Hearth Eagle in order to grapple my Battlemage all the way across the board. But the issue with this play is that I could have just grapple shotted the Hearth Eagle on the free city, kept my Spectral Stalker alive. It would have killed the Hearth Eagle, my Battlemage would have been untapped, and then, oh no, that wouldn't have worked. In retrospect, towards the end of this game, I was beating myself up about this play, but it turns out I wouldn't be able to do that because I had to play the Mirror Realm, which meant tapping my Battlemage. Okay. It wasn't that much of a blunder. So I've used the grapple shot to get across the board, attacked the Hearth Eagle, and the Hearth Eagle goes down. But we had to bait that out with our Men of Ling to make the Hearth Eagle move off the free city in order to get our Battlemage onto the back row. Because if we'd left our Battlemage on the free city, if we just grapple shot into that, hit the Hearth Eagle on the free city, our opponent would have got a free attack with the free city next turn on our Battlemage, which is 3 damage for free. So we wanted to avoid that, and we had to give away the Spectral Stalker as a sacrificial lamb to stop that from happening, unfortunately. So the Hearth Eagle goes into the bin, and then they go down to 15 from our Phase Assassin coming in. So we had the Spectral Stalker on turn 1, got in for 2, then this turn the Phase Assassin gets in for 3. And now Nathaniel is untapping with 2 sites in play, one of which is the free city, Spectral Stalker sitting on our home site, and then a few options with an untapped Battlemage. So do they want to kill our Phase Assassin? But that means they won't be able to play a site this turn. So they do go ahead and take out the Phase Assassin. The advantage for them, and this is what I was saying before about the Battlemage being reasonably effective at warding off these early rushes, because Nathaniel actually gets to draw a card here, goes ahead on card advantage for the long game, and was able to do this with only 2 sites in play, plus the Philosopher's Stone. And it's still going to be develop their board with that, because they've just spent the Battlemage's ability, which didn't cost them any mana. They got to remove our 3-drop, basically for 0 mana with the Battlemage, which is pretty amazing. And they got to draw a card off it. So Battlemage just does very well with those early exchanges, so long as you can survive to then use the resources that you're gaining in the long run. So Nathaniel goes ahead and drops the Men of Ling on the free city. A very good place for Men of Ling to hang out, because it's hard to attack and kill them while they're there, and they can then attack off the free city and hit my Battlemage next turn to make me discard a card. So I'm feeling pretty vulnerable here. The one good thing I have going for me is that I do have the 3 air threshold that allows me to play Browse, so I can find the most appropriate card in the top 7 to suit my current situation, and then I'm going to be able to play Chain Lightning for 2 mana to deal 2 damage to that Men of Ling, which is one of the few ways in my deck. So I do have Lightning Bolt, obviously, but between Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, I think those are the only 2 ways that I can safely kill a Men of Ling in this situation without putting my Battlemage in harm's way. So Phase Assassin I'm considering taking, and then we've got a Grapple as well. Those are the 2. Hearth Eagle, Blink, not so good. Grapple Shot is helpful. Another Hearth Eagle, a Men of Ling, and a Spectral Stalker, which we're probably not going to choose. So really at this point for me, it's between the Phase Assassin, which is going to be another threat that I can play next turn, that's going to threaten lethal the following turn, because right now I've got an untouched Battlemage. I'm going to put them down to 9. Then next turn, I'm going to be attacking again with my Battlemage, put them down to 6, and then if I've got a Phase Assassin in play, then I'm threatening lethal the following turn. If I get Grapple Shot, then I can also threaten lethal the following turn, but I don't then have an extra permanent in play. But Grapple Shot is a bit more flexible in terms of where it can attack from, and it's less vulnerable to being removed in the meantime. Though Phase Assassin does have its stealth, which is a bit of resistance to being removed. So I opt to take the Phase Assassin, which is for some reason face down in my hand. I'll flip that in a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and Chain Lightning that Men of Ling for the end of this turn. So there we go, Chain Lightning, hit that Men of Leng, get them off the free city, and then attack for 3, putting Nathaniel down to 9. So I've got Nathaniel down to 9. I'm on 16, soon to be at 11, with the damage Nathaniel currently has on board, plus anything else Nathaniel can put out next turn. So I am kind of that one turn ahead in the race, but I do have no permanents in play, and I'm getting a little bit behind in the race in terms of damage capacity on board. So I'm ahead on the life race, but I'm behind on that board presence damage capacity metric. I also do have Whirling Blades, but I don't have another finisher in hand. And Whirling Blades is pretty expensive when I currently only have 3 mana available. So Nathaniel goes ahead, plays a blink, blinks the Battlemage across to the free city, which then allows Nathaniel to attack my site with the Battlemage for free. So that's a great result. And then draws a card off the blink as well. And they've deployed an Amethyst Core this turn. So 2 from the Spectral Stalker, 3 from the Battlemage, down to 11. And Nathaniel has powered up to 4 mana available with only 2 sites in play. So this just shows you the power of this kind of aggressive Battlemage strategy. When you do hit those cores, the core on the Philosopher's Stone, you can get up to 4 mana, which lets you play most of the things in your deck. Or admittedly, the Philosopher's Stone discount can't be used on the artifacts, some of which do cost 4, so that is important. But the 4 mana to be able to cast, 3 mana at a discount, to be able to effectively cast every other spell in the deck that's not an artifact or Whirling Blade. So you can cast, Heart's Eagle, Men of Leng, Phase Assassin, any of those, plus the 4-drops like Gaia Hippogriffs, all of those castable off Nathaniel's current board state, and they've only had to spend 2 turns playing sites. So very aggressive for them at responding to our equally aggressive start. We went, as I said, turn 1 2-drop, turn 2 3-drop, turn 3 3-drop in Grapple Shot. So we've had a pretty aggressive start as well, but only managed to get Nathaniel down to 9. So I think Nathaniel here figuring out exactly how much mana left after this Amethyst Core. I had a bit of a conversation about, because the mix between a core adding mana and a Philosopher's Stone being a discount is a bit of a mind twister. But basically what happens is Nathaniel's got 2 mana to start the turn plus the Philosopher's Stone discount. They spend 1 mana on the Amethyst Core, so they go down to 1, but then they go up to 2 again because the Amethyst Core provides 1 mana. So then they have 2 mana, but they have spent their Philosopher's Stone discount. Then they spend 1 of that mana and their Philosopher's Stone discount playing Blink, so they go down to 1 mana and no discount remaining. So they're currently looking at their hand thinking, can I do anything with 1 mana and no Philosopher's Stone discount? And the answer is probably no. Untap our Battlemage, draw a Lightning Bolt, which, as I mentioned a minute ago, didn't have any other finisher other than Whirling Blades, which is a bit expensive. So drawing a Lightning Bolt there is really nice because it lets us now play this Phase Assassin, be threatening lethal next turn, and have the Lightning Bolt to try and finish Nathaniel off when he's at Death's Door, because wandering past that free city is going to be a little bit challenging. And annoyingly, because we've played this Mirror Realm off to the side, we've actually given Nathaniel a nice little place to go and hide out of range of both Whirling Blades but also Grapple Shot. And because that Spectral Stalker is still alive on Nathaniel's side of the board, they do also have something to block our Lightning Bolt kill, or at least make it not 100% chance for us to do that. They've accidentally combined the Spectral Stalker and the Battlemage. There we go. Uncombined them. So the key thing for us here as the player who's hoping to put Nathaniel to Death's Door next turn is, 1, do they play a blocker on their home site, which would stop us from putting them to Death's Door? 2, do they move the Spectral Stalker along with the Battlemage to protect it from Lightning Bolt? So they opt not to this turn. So if they follow that pattern again next turn, we'll be pretty happy about that. So they put us down to 6, which means we are most likely in range of ourselves going to Death's Door next turn. But thankfully we have the tempo at this point, but they do now have their 4 mana available to try and shake that up. So can they play a blocker on their home site to disrupt us getting them to Death's Door? Or can they do something else to ensure that they get us to Death's Door the following turn? Let's see. So 4 cards in hand, lots of different options here for them. 4 cards in hand, 3 mana and the Philosopher's Stone discount available. So effectively 4 mana, just the one of them can't be used for artifacts. So they go ahead and play a Phase Assassin that will be ready to attack our Mirror Realm next turn and be sure to put us to Death's Door. So one of the things that I think Nathaniel possibly could have done here this turn is play that Phase Assassin onto the Lone Tower, like onto the home site. That would have been a bit more of a challenge for us, because it would have been hard, just with my particular hand, it would have been hard for me to Lightning Bolt it, because I would risk hitting myself. I also can't attack the free city because it gets a free block with my Battlemage, that is. I also can't attack the Phase Assassin with the Battlemage, both because it's stealthed, but also because even if it wasn't stealthed, I would be putting myself down to 3 and be certainly going to Death's Door the following turn and not be able to get Nathaniel to Death's Door. So yeah, I think if Nathaniel had played it on their home site, I would have had the Lightning Bolt, but I would have had to use my Lightning Bolt to get them to Death's Door, which then would have meant it was more difficult for me to finish them off. But as it is, I think with the board as it is right now, I'm going to be able to get them to Death's Door and have the Lightning Bolt in hand to try and finish them off next turn. Alright, so we untap the Battlemage, draw a Philosopher's Stone, attack with the Battlemage, and then attack with the Phase Assassin to put Nathaniel down to Death's Door. So Philosopher's Stone, not a great draw there. I mean, it does mean that we can turn on our Whirling Blades next turn. So we play the Philosopher's Stone now, which effectively puts the Whirling Blades cost down to 4, and we're now at 3 resources. So if we wanted to, depending on what happens on Nathaniel's turn, if Whirling Blades turns out to be lethal, say if they move the Battlemage back into the middle row there, we could draw a site, tap to play the site, and still Whirling Blades for the finishing blow. So the Philosopher's Stone, not the worst draw, but probably not exactly what we want to see there. It would have been nicer to have a minion to play or something a bit more chunky, because if we had been able to place a minion of our own down on our side of the board, we might have been able to stave off one more turn of Death's Door. As it is right now, looks like Nathaniel's tapping the Battlemage, interestingly, here to play a site. So they could have just attacked us with the Battlemage, attacked us with the Spectral Stalker, or actually just attacked us with the Battlemage and the Phase Assassin and kept the Spectral Stalker untapped. That would have put us down to Death's Door, and they still would have been able to play 4 mana worth of things. So I think tapping to play the Ruins there comes at a pretty high cost. It does mean that they get this play of play Men of Leng and then Grapple Shot our Avatar. So they get some extra damage in, and they get to make us discard a card, which is great if it gets rid of one of our finishers. I mean, thankfully for us, we do kind of have 2 finishers, although the Whirling Blades, as I said, is not really live here. Because we don't have the mana to both move and then cast the Whirling Blades, we actually have to use our Avatar to deploy a site. So actually, I guess we could use the Avatar to deploy a site, and then move the Phase Assassin and then Whirling Blades with the Phase Assassin, so that would be lethal. But our opponent randomly makes us discard the Whirling Blades. So in retrospect, I think, Nathaniel, if you're watching this back, your play was actually good there, in the sense that getting rid of that Whirling Blades was necessary, because now that I'm up to 4 mana with the Philosopher's Stone, I could have tapped, played a site, tapped to move my Phase Assassin down onto the free city, not attack, just move, and then I could have Whirling Blades for lethal, using the Phase Assassin to move 2 steps. So instead, Nathaniel managed to Men of Leng, get me to discard the Whirling Blades, and then attack me down to Death's Door with the remaining units. So at this point, I'm kind of looking at this going, I've got a 1 in 3 on the Lightning Bolt, but that's kind of all I have. But the top deck comes to the rescue, and a Gaia Hippogriffs off the top lets me play that and then attack in on the Battlemage, and there are no units left to defend. So I mean, that is honestly one of the best games of Sorcery that I've played. It was so tight the whole way, super close mirror match, really interesting decisions. That last decision point for Nathaniel of choosing to play the Ruins, play the Men of Leng, and Grapple Shot me to make me discard the Whirling Blades was like a stroke of genius, honestly. And very nearly, if not for that Gaia Hippogriffs off the top, I would have had to die roll a 1 in 3. To kill with the Lightning Bolt, and then I would have been in a lot of trouble. I hope you enjoyed the first game of the top 8. We'll be back with the second game very shortly, and we'll see whether, because best of 3 in the top 8, so we'll see whether I can get the second win and finish off the match in the quarterfinals. Otherwise, we'll be back for game 3 after that. So see you for game 2 shortly.